years. I think we have been trying to blend and build upon, again, back to that more treatment, better treatment, is the beyond treatment part of the model, that what is needed beyond this therapeutic intervention, which is so important for our particular kids. So I think it's just incredibly stimulating and interesting and helps spark all our thinking into new possibilities and frankly, old possibilities. Judges Cohen and Reingold, could I ask you to come up? I am going to share the stage. Thank you so much, Gordon. It was great to have you here. I look forward to being on your team. It's with pleasure that I welcome Judges Cohen and Judges Reingold from North Carolina as we transition into officially and formally welcoming Ms. Susan Richardson as our new National Program Director. So may I begin with you? They wanted to share a few thoughts.
Good morning. We're in a period of change and transition and evolution. And today, Laura had called and actually emailed Judge Reingold and myself and said she wanted a magical moment. As we introduce Susan. Susan is a wonderful person. She has a warm and engaging personality and a beautiful smile. She is the statewide face for Reclaiming Futures in North Carolina. And along with my Chief District Court Judge, Beth Keever, she is one of the reasons that I'm a judicial fellow. Over 3 years ago, when they were introducing the concept in North Carolina, they invited us to Winston-Salem and then to Raleigh. I noted that Susan at each meeting would come up and say, well, what do you think? How's it going? It became abundantly clear to me that she was more interested in something that would make a positive impact than just another program. Look around you. Look at all these faces. Since I wasn't here 12 years ago, it is hard to believe that you could all be in one little room. And Laura, you've done a wonderful job. As we transition, change, and evolve, when Laura asked me about this, I said, this is interesting. Because Susan is the right person, the right time, the right place to lead us forward. No one can fill Laura's shoes, but if we have to get a new pair, you couldn't have done a better job than Susan Richardson.
Good morning, everyone. Is this on? Okay. Hi. Thank you, Judge, for stealing most of my lines. Susan, I hope you can get us some better accommodations. As I asked of the attorneys who appeared before me, I asked them to be brief and to the point, so I will do the same. I got to know Susan when we had our first meeting in North Carolina, in Winston-Salem, which is where I am from. And we had to make a decision about whether or not to participate in this program. And as everybody knows, there's a lot of work to it. As most of us who have been involved with it now for a few years know that the work is definitely worth it. But one of the fun things and pleasurable things was getting to work with you and discussing a number of different things. One of the things that you folks who may not know Susan well will find out is her energy and her people skills are off the charts. You will come to truly appreciate that. But there's one other thing I must share with you, and you probably know what's coming, Susan. Susan is the biggest, the craziest, the most devoted Bruce Springsteen fan in the world. Now, some people at some point in their life want to run off and join the service. If Susan is missing, she's probably run off to join the E Street Band. As was said already, you have some very, very large shoes to fill. But I believe, as most of you will realize, that if anybody can do it, to choose Susan. So I wish you the best, and I welcome you.
So I want to just say a little bit about how I came to know Susan. As I do, once in a while, I'm sitting at my desk and the phone rings, and phone rings all the time, but I'm not usually sitting at my desk. I'm off on an airplane somewhere. And this very polite, sweet woman said, I'm from the Katie Reynolds Charitable Trust. My name is Susan Richardson, and I'm very interested in reclaiming futures, and I've heard this, this, and this, and my director of my foundation talked to the director of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and we should really have this conversation. And so I have a lot, and part of the job, as I have talked to Susan about, a lot of the job is just about, helping to introduce people to the idea and what we're talking about, all the moving parts, the philosophy. And I usually give people a little bit of homework to see if they're serious about the idea, because there are just certain elements of this, much like balance or restorative justice, that it's just not something you drop in. It's a very much a community development approach. There has to be a sort of a sense of readiness and real commitment and passion that goes beyond, let's just hire a bunch of people and put a program in motion. So I believe the list that I gave to Susan was about 10 items long. It might be good to talk to these stakeholders, talk to people at the state, do this, that, other thing. And really no longer than like 2 weeks later, this is the first time this has ever happened, she called me back and said, okay, I've done all those things. And now I'm ready to do the next thing. Like, what's the next thing we do? Because I've done all these things. Here's my report. What's the next thing we do? How do we take it to the next level? And every minute of my relationship of working with Susan has been like that. In that amount of time, she galvanized, like 40 people in the state of North Carolina at the state level and at some of the local levels to really just spark this idea, get things moving, attract attention to it, find the right people who had the right kind of passion for it, and get them in a room together. We've been through a lengthy search process to make a selection with Susan. We really believe deeply, and we thank those of you in this room who were involved in that process, that Susan had the vision, the skill set, and only after really 3 years of being involved in it, already made an enormous impact in helping us get further in terms of getting further in one state than we ever have before. So a huge impact in really just a short amount of time with us. She is funny, sparky, very sparky, creative. She's very determined. And so as you get to know her, don't think that the niceness is all there is. She's a very, very determined person, and very tenacious person, which is needed, and a very strategic person. I want to say, as I really literally pass the torch, she's going to need your help and your support and your ideas, because every part of this project we have built together. Every single part of it from the very beginning days, and the future of it is in that same category. So every single part gets built together. I'll be in there doing my part, but we're all going to need to help Susan learn how to continue evolving and building it as we move forward. I want to say she comes to us by way of just the technical aspects as a former senior program officer in the healthcare division of the K.E. Reynolds Charitable Trust, but she has also worked extensively in other arenas involving system reform, philanthropy, and I think large group sort of mobilization on a variety of issues. But I will now give you and welcome Susan Richardson, Entry National Program Director.
As we go forward together on our Reclaiming Futures adventure. We have built it together to this point, and going forward, all future road markers and building blocks will be made together, so I want to assure you of that. I want to say just a little bit more about my background because it's a great story. And that, it's like, wow, how did I get here? And I just want to share just a little bit about that. I have a healthcare administration background, and I have extensive experience in public relations, administration, fundraising, grant writing, and grant think all of that culminates into the work that I'm getting ready to embark on. Sounds a lot like what that I'll be doing in my new job. And I don't think that's a coincidence. And I want to tell you that there is just something about Reclaiming Futures that I feel called to do. And it is wonderful to be able to take that step and say, yes, I accept. So I am thrilled and excited about this opportunity, and I thank you in advance for the help that you will provide for me. I remember a year ago when Laura announced that she would be transitioning to a new phase of her life. And I remember thinking, in the immortal words of Mr. T, I pity the fool. Lo and behold, I do think that all of us owe a debt of gratitude to you, Laura, for all that you have done and will do, and also to our founding sites, the 10 original sites that gave us the model and the ability to reclaim youth. So thank you. I'm going to frame my remarks in 3 areas. I want to talk a little bit about the North Carolina experience. I want to talk to you about my vision, and I want to let you know about my inspiration as well. But first, I want to share this picture with you. This is Pilot Mountain, North Carolina. And this is a mountain that I see almost every day, or I saw almost every day, around Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and the surrounding area. And you know what? I called it my mountain. And my husband Bob and I would share with each other everywhere in town. We would get a peek of it when the weather permits. So we would go, there it is. And but later on, sure enough, I found out it wasn't my mountain. It's probably everybody's in Winston-Salem. We all think it's our mountain. Don't you think so, Jackie or Maya? Is it your mountain too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It was not unique. But now I am packing up the van and moving to Beverly. No, moving to Portland. Moving to Portland. And so this is going to be my mountain. Whoa, that's a difference in altitude. What do you say? Okay, in fact, I have now fallen in love with Mount Hood. It's my new mountain, and I love it, and I'm looking for it when the weather is pretty there. And I will be able to see it from my apartment. So I think that was a God wink. Gave us a view of Mount Hood. So that's exciting. But I bet all of you share that feeling too. Mount Hood is your mountain too, so I know I'm not alone. But I say all of this to illustrate the fact that I have a new viewpoint now. I, with this position, have a new viewpoint to see all the great work that you're doing in your local communities and your states. And I am humbled and honored to be your next leader. And I want you to know that I am taking it all in. And I am reminded, I don't see Dan, but I wanted to quote Dan. Hey, Dan. Talk about the view from the balcony. I am on the balcony and I'm taking it all in, and I intend to be very collaborative in the leadership style with the staff and with each of you, and my door and phone and email are open to you at all times. But I am liking the view, and I'm going to enjoy the view and just take it all in. Now, I know you all know probably more than me about Reclaiming Futures in some ways, and some about our statistics and the problem. And what we know is that we have a tremendous problem. And we want to do something about it, a big problem that we want to do something about. And I wanted to give a little background because we do have a few visitors in our midst today. And just sort of to frame it as I get ready to go into the North Carolina experience. So here's some statistics that tell you about the severity of the problem. We know our mantra, our elevator speech, the center of our message box. Are you with me? It is more treatment, better treatment, beyond treatment. That's what we want to do. We want to return those youth with a reclaimed future into their communities. And as it is across the United States, so are these problems prevalent in North Carolina. The North Carolina initiative consisted of 6 sites representing 9 counties that started almost 3 years ago now. And I can't hardly see it. Anyway, we do have 6 sites. They're all in our room today. 3 are urban. 1 is a mix of urban and rural, and 2 are rural, much like our United States. But I want to talk about North Carolina, not because it's the end-all, be-all, although I know there's some of you that say that. And I apologize for the repetition that my North Carolina friends will now hear, but it's important to the story that we were just at the right place at the right time to be a laboratory for the initiative. And it's not saying that this is the only way to do it. In fact, it's just one way to do it. We had a very stimulating conversation in our breakout session just before this one about other ways and other appropriate approaches to getting this work done. But this is how it worked and is looking very successful for North Carolina. So we started with the State Champions Group. And that was 3 years ago. As a senior program officer with K.E. Reynolds Charitable Trust, I was able to shepherd this initiative. I had a grant caseload, but as I told all my folks, these were my favorites. Yet again, that passion, I identified it early in the ability to help make change, to help young people. So we started with the State Champion Group, as Judge Pone and Judge Reingold alluded to. We asked them, is this something that North Carolina could benefit from? And they said, yes, indeed. But who we invited at the beginning was the Department of Juvenile Justice, Delinquency Prevention, the Department of Corrections, the Administrative Office of the Court, our mental health substance abuse leaders, Action for Children, which in North Carolina is the leading child advocacy nonprofit. We invited our judges, we invited the local mental health administrative people, and we invited the Medicaid office, the state Medicaid office. And they have proven invaluable to us as we've gone through the journey. In fact, they said, yes, we'd like the trust to get it started here. We'll be your advisors, and then we will be with you when you get ready to transition to bigger things. We also, as some of you may have heard, contracted with Wake Forest University with Doug Easterling to do an evaluation of the North Carolina experience, and have had some good results so far, and are looking forward to continuing with him on further work. We did have the 6 leadership teams, just like all of you have, of the 5-member teams in each site. And we worked locally and at a state level to let state legislators know what we were up to. And the accomplishments that Doug reported on in the evaluation, of course, we hired the 6 project directors, established the local teams, they adopted the RF model, they were doing outreach to their communities to get them involved. They have improved screening and established new tools for assessment. And they are identifying gaps in services and programs. And likewise, they are attracting new partners and assessing their performance. We're not there yet. I don't believe anybody is there yet, but they are certainly on the right track to ingraining the Reclaiming Futures principles into their daily work and into their daily systems. So we got to about the 2-year point, and the foundation decided that it was time for the little birdie to fly out of the nest. Really, an initiative cannot be administered by a foundation long term. You know how foundations are. They start things up, and then they start something else up. So we will always be grateful to KB Reynolds Charitable Trust, and they are a continuing partner in this statewide role, as I described it. But we do want to build on our success. Number one, hold the gains, sustain our sites, increase capacity, and we will do that through continuation funding and through creating a state-level Office of Reclaiming Futures. And our vision for that started with the State Champions Group. We developed a budget to support the vision, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about how all that came to be. This is the next step in North Carolina. It makes sense for North Carolina. There may be another next step for other states, but this is how it worked out where we live. I wish I had $1 for every time someone asked me, well, just how have other states done it? You know, let's just do it the way they did it. Well, the point is, this is new territory. We are once again building that plane as it's flying. It had not been done before. So we just have to put our best thoughts and our best efforts out there about how to get this done. And what our best thought and effort was a statewide office. The state champions helped us to decide that the state office would live at the Department of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. There was a little conversation about that, but we worked through it, and they are happy. They're happy with that. We went back to KB Reynolds Charitable Trust as the lead funder because as the lead funder, they understand that money has to go back to the National Program Office, which, by the way, is in Portland, Oregon. It's not in North Carolina, but the money has to go there because that's where the product is. It will all come back to North Carolina, but there is that little shoot there. So KBR is funding technical assistance transfer, curriculum transfer, meetings, etc. for our North Carolina sites and our expansion. We asked the Governor's Crime Commission to be a part of the grand vision and plan and asked them what portion would they be interested in. And because the Governor's Crime Commission is interested in reform and system change, they decided they would like to fund these statewide positions. So that funding is in place. I can announce that that is public knowledge. They will be funding a program director, a training director, and a data analyst for our statewide office. This is going to kick off in July, and so there will be postings about that. If any of you are interested in moving to the great state of North Carolina, go Tar Heels. That might be something you want to look at. The second funding source, and this was all part of a vision of graded funding, collaborative funding, multi-funder collaborative, because KB Reynolds couldn't do it alone, the state couldn't do it alone, so together we can do great things. And the Duke Endowment, which serves both North Carolina and South Carolina, a leading health funder, followed by KB Reynolds in North Carolina, was approached to actually fund some statewide expansion. And we asked them to consider funding 4 sites. That would bring North Carolina to 10 sites to be the largest set of sites in any one state. And they are considering that. Both Duke Endowment and KBR will be giving us their decisions in June for execution in July, and it's looking very good. And we will be sure and keep you posted about that. So we dreamt a dream about a multi-funder collaborative to take this initiative and movement to the next level. And over the next 2 years, the curriculum and technical assistance transfer to the state office will allow them to be the coaches within the state and have the knowledge internally in North Carolina. It will still be part of our family, but it is a way of building that infrastructure and institutionalizing it in North Carolina by having a statewide office. So that, you may be asking, well, how much did that come to, Susan? And I wanted to give you just a general ballpark range to let you know that that came at about $700,000 a year. And so we're looking at two years of funding from that, the current proposals that are out there. I've got to hurry now. This is really a shame. But this model goes from left to right, and it kind of gives the history of where we've been. We started out with 10 sites. It took several years. The research and development is done. Now we are into implementation and spread. We gave the state of North Carolina a successful 2-year pilot, and then we said, now you've got to help us institutionalize it and spread it across North Carolina. We did what we said. Now let's all work together to move it forward. So we're working on this proposal for state infrastructure and customizing the national support down to the state level. You know the map. You see where we are currently serving as Reclaiming Futures sites. There is great interest in our country about Reclaiming Futures. And Mark and I did a recent webinar with grant makers in health. We had people from all over the country interested in what you all are doing in states that are not navy blue on our map. So with Mark's help, we will be following up on the leads that he has cultivated and the leads that he has been working on to really spread what we are. Now, this is a United States map. I couldn't do the global map because I need a couple more days to work on world domination. But I want to tell you what my vision is for Reclaiming Futures. And it is national spread and sustainability. We need to continue to look to our federal partners for where opportunity exists. We need to continue with state or regional philanthropic partnerships like North Carolina or different from North Carolina, but the same end in mind: more states, more influence, more youth getting better and reclaiming their future. And also we have an opportunity to present a menu of services to those that are interested in Reclaiming Futures. Maybe they're not ready to start a site. Could we help them get ready? Could we offer them a menu on a continuum of services saying, well, we'll start here for X amount? Yes, we can do that, and we would like to pursue that option. We need to seize opportunities where they are opening up, and they may not be in the usual places or the usual players. There may be opportunities with schools or healthcare or other areas where when the door opens, we can walk through as long as we stay open to the possibilities and nimble and flexible enough to meet needs. So we are excited about that. Our ultimate goal is to transition Reclaiming Futures into a self-financed national learning collaborative. We do have some supporting approaches that we need to talk about because you will be hearing about this from us. We need to expand data that emphasizes our impact and our cost savings. We're hearing a lot of that in North Carolina. I bet you are hearing it too. And we need to help you tell that story better. We need to emphasize continuous and performance improvement and continue to work on our implementation indexes. We will continue to collaborate with input from staff and all of you who are our Reclaiming the Futures family. And we do have a strategic plan that we're going to check in with and see if we are on track in addressing all the items that were developed and identified there. And why do I believe that this is achievable? Because of return on investment. I believe Reclaiming Futures is a great return on investment. And that is what our partners want. That is what matters to partners. It was what matters to the federal government, the state government, and to Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust. What they want is to know that they're not only the federal agencies and state governments. We want more efficient systems, system change, and less funding to detention. The private foundations want lasting change. They're so tired of making grants that just don't last, that go away. And we can identify and work with those foundations to meet their mission, as long as we target what they want. And so we're not going to go to the Environmental and Arts Foundation. We're going to go to the foundation that loves youth, works with juvenile justice, works with mental health, substance abuse, or that community foundation that wants to build community engagement. That's who we're going to target. And then in juvenile justice, as professionals, you all want better outcomes, reduce recidivism, and increase coordination in building successful recovery and support networks. And that's what Reclaiming Futures is all about. And we know that if we give our partners what they need and want together, we can accomplish great things. And then you know that what we do offer, in summary, is system improvement, greater value for the dollar, and engagement in the community. I want to discuss two things in closing, because this is really probably the most important thing you want to know, is what happens next, and why did I take this job? And what happens next is also known as, what does that mean to me? So I want to tell you what it means to you. We are committed to continuing to support you at the National Program Office and give you the great customer service that you have come to expect. That will continue. We're all in this together. Your success is our success, and we are there to support you. I'm going to be doing a lot of listening and a lot of learning and a lot of connecting with you. And I want to connect with you by calls, emails, site visits, any way you need. I am open to working with you on that connection in making this the best movement that it can be. I am going to spend the summer meeting with some federal partners, with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and site visits. So that will be part of my time as I get started in the role. But basically, my number one priority is spreading and sustaining Reclaiming Futures across the United States. Okay, now why did I take this job? Okay, I'm passionate about it. Can you tell? Work should be fun and should involve passion. And that's what I want to bring every day. I want to work with people who want to do good things and great things and make a difference. And although all the numbers are important that we talked about, it comes down to people. It comes down to real young people and families. And at the end of the day, we want to know that we have made their world better. And that's what motivates me. I want to share with you my family. In the middle there is my stepdaughter, Lurleen. She will be 19 on June the 19th, and she is entering her second year of college. She is well on her way to an opera career. And did you know that the Portland Opera Company is very prestigious? I'm so happy about that. She is going to school in North Carolina and is planning lots of visits with us. But she is in good hands. She is well on her way. And on the right is my dear husband, Bob. And he is so excited about our adventure. He is game. He is ready to go. And what you need to know about Bob is that he is a peer specialist that worked with drug and alcohol addicts. And I understand there may be some drug problems in Portland. So when he's ready, I think he's thinking about school. He'll have work to do as well. But what you also need to know about Bob, why he was so good as a peer specialist, is that he is in 14 years of recovery himself. And he told me in this process, he said, Susan, they need to know that you really understand recovery. I said, okay. But I took that as a very high compliment, a very high compliment. And so I think about Bob, and I think about the teenage onset of his addiction and all the years of life that it took to get help and to be clean. And I think, well, what in the world would the world be like without him? And I can't stand to think like that. And then I extrapolate that to the thousands of young people in our country who are at risk. And what if we don't help them? What if they're not there? And we can't take the risk. I can't stand the thought of it. So that's why I get up every day wanting to preach Reclaiming Futures. It's because our youth deserve a way out. They deserve another chance. You all know this. They deserve a reclaimed future. And so I just invite you to, let's do it together.